Inside this box is one of the wildest 3D printed shoes that I've ever seen. And in today's video, we're going to unbox this pair of shoes, try it on, see how it feels, and find out whether this pair of shoes was worth the exorbitant amount of money that I paid for it. What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler, and today we're checking out the Asics ActiBreeze 3D, one of the first fully 3D printed shoes from a major brand. To me, it's kind of crazy that this is one of the very first fully 3D printed shoes from a big brand like Asics, because brands like Adidas and even Under Armour have been dropping 3D printed shoes for years. I mean, to be fair, the Adidas 3D printed shoes, or I guess their 4D shoes, are really only 3D printed on the midsole of the shoe, but at the same time, they're pushing out thousands and thousands and thousands of pairs of these shoes, so they've definitely figured out the mass production side of things, which is kind of crazy because when these shoes first released, there was like 1,000 pairs of them and they resold for like $3,000. Now you can walk into pretty much any Adidas store and find pairs of these on the shelves in tons of different colors, and there's a bunch of pairs available online, so it's kind of crazy how widely available Adidas has made 3D printed shoes. However, Adidas has not seemingly perfected the fully 3D printed shoe, which is crazy to me because I feel like that's the next logical step. So this brand, Asics, actually released a brand new fully 3D printed pair of shoes. Now to be fair, it's a pair of slides, so a lot of people will say,
oh, slides aren't shoes.
But if you look at the definition of shoes, it's a thing that covers up your foot. I don't know why people get so mad when I call slides shoes, but that's what they are. They're not sneakers. I do call them sneakers by accident sometimes, but they're absolutely shoes. So unfortunately, I had to buy these shoes on the aftermarket because they sold out immediately because of how limited the quantities of these shoes were. Obviously, that's because 3D printing a full pair of shoes takes hours. In fact, Asics came out and said it takes them like 10 hours to print one of these shoes, and apparently it takes something like 20 hours for these shoes to even cure. So it's a very, very long process. So they probably were not able to make a bunch of pairs of these. I would assume a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand. But even though it took so long to print these shoes, they actually sold for just $80 on Asics website. So they sold out immediately. I tried to grab a pair when they dropped, but unfortunately I was not able to. So instead I paid $300 on StockX, which sucked, but hey, at least I have a pair to show you guys. So unfortunately the sizing for this shoe is small, medium, large, and extra large. There's no numbers. If you grab a size large, it apparently fits size 9 through size 10.5. I'm a size 9, so I'm like right on the edge of a large and medium, but I grabbed a large because that was actually the only pair available, and I am a size 9, so it should fit me fine. But the box itself is pretty cool. You've got this white design printed on the top that looks kind of like a 3D printed or a 3D rendered Asics logo, which is really cool. But then popping open the lid, we get our first look at this pair of shoes, at least my first look. You guys might have already seen them before, but here we go. The Asics ActiBreeze 3D. A crazy looking pair of slides. Wow, these are nuts. I'm not gonna lie, these shoes are absolutely insane. Like, this is a completely lattice 3D printed slide. This is crazy. I've never seen a full shoe like this before. If you guys have been watching my channel, you probably saw me 3D print pairs of Yeezy slides, and they're actually pretty similar to this, at least in the form. Let me grab one of them really quick. Here we go. Here's the 3D printed Yeezy slide. It's a pretty similar size to the Asics, which makes sense because this is around a size 9.5, size 10. This is a size 9 to 10.5. And actually, surprisingly, the feel of these two slides is pretty similar. This one was printed using NinjaFlex on an FDM printer, which essentially is a printer that extrudes out like a thin plastic wire and melts it and then prints in layers. This shoe was probably printed on an industrial resin printer, which looks very different than a consumer grade FDM printer, but the process is similar. It's still printed in layers. This shoe almost looks like it's rising out of resin, whereas this shoe sort of rises off a build plate. It's a slightly different process. The materials are different, but the overall idea of 3D printing is the same. Here, let me pull off this StockX tag on the bottom really quick. I've got to say that this shoe feels a lot heavier than I was expecting. Like, I was genuinely thinking it was gonna be a super light shoe. I mean, it's not a light shoe, but it's heavier than some of the other slides that I have in my collection. And that's probably because this material is more dense than I would have expected. It's still incredibly flexible. I mean, look at that. That is crazy flexible. And I'm sure the airflow on this shoe is nuts because it's just like a completely hollow shoe. And I'm sure when I'm walking in the shoe later when we try it on, it's gonna feel amazing. But it does have some more heft than I expected. I can't get over how flexible this shoe is. It's crazy. It really feels like memory foam. It's absolutely nuts. I mean, it's so similar to the NinjaFlex. What's crazy though is that this NinjaFlex completely collapsed underneath my feet in a way that was not that wearable. This shoe I don't think will be the same because I think this hex pattern or this sort of honeycomb pattern is gonna be a lot stronger than just basic NinjaFlex with basic infill. So I think this will probably support me very well, and I'm sure be incredibly comfortable on foot. But hey, I don't know why I'm still talking about this shoe. Let's go try it on. All right, so here we are. We've got the ActiBreeze 3D, the first fully 3D printed shoe that I know of that's from a major brand. There probably are some other ones that I don't know about, but these are the first ones that I'm aware of. And I brought them out with my Yeezy slides, which are EVA foam slides. And the reason I brought these out is because, one, I needed some shoes to walk out in without ruining the surprise of these shoes. And two, because I wanted to compare these to a pair of slides that I wear every single day. So I want to see sort of the comfort difference, whether these compete with these, whether these are better than the Yeezy slides, or whether they're not even close. But before we get into that, I want to show you guys our brand new Apothecary low top socks. I've been wearing these every single day. We just recently released them and they come in 3 different colors. We've got white, black, and gray, and they come in 2-packs, so you can grab 2 pairs of socks for essentially the price of 1. Not only that, these socks are crazy comfortable, especially when paired with a slide as comfortable as these 3D printed slides. Presumably, we don't actually know yet. I will say that these are definitely worth checking out if you're looking to grab some low top socks. So make sure to click that link at the top of the description below and grab some Apothecary low socks. Okay, so now moment of truth. Let's throw these on feet and see how they feel. Oh man, I didn't expect that at all. Oh, these are great. All right, so first impressions, these are very, very comfortable. When I first put my foot into the shoes, they didn't really compress, at least not when I was sitting down, so I didn't expect them to be that soft underfoot. But when I actually stood on them and put my full weight on these shoes, they compressed in this really nice way that still offered some support, which I was really surprised by. So honestly, a surprisingly comfortable feel. Like, this shoe feels really, really good on foot. It kind of gives in all the right places, something that I didn't expect. Let's try it again. Yeah, like it compresses really nicely in the heel and in the toe too. Wow, that's really nice. Now, I will say that sizing wise, this is way too big. A large is way too big for a size 9 footed person, which makes sense because it's a size 9 to a size 10.5. This is absolutely closer to a 10.5 than a 9, especially with this smooth 3D printed material. Like, with my socks on, it slides very quickly off my feet. So if I could go down to a medium, I probably would. So I guess if you're grabbing these and you're on the lower end of sizing for your particular size group, like medium, large, or whatever, grab these size down, because this is just, it's too big for me. Definitely way too big. And I don't know if I can actually like wear this shoe out. I don't know, it might just fall right off my feet like 10 minutes after I wear it. So that's something to keep in mind, but comfort wise, it's incredible. Like, it's really, really nice. It just feels like I'm walking on memory foam, more so than even the Ninja Flex from the last video. I'm assuming that's both because of the materials that were used, but also the actual pattern that was used to create the support inside the shoe. So incredible, incredible feel. Not like anything I've ever felt before, honestly. Like, it's not like foam. It gives more than foam, but it also has more support than foam. Maybe it doesn't give as much as foam, but I don't know, I guess when you put like very specific weight on a specific point of the shoe, it gives more than foam does. Although when you're not putting like all your weight on one part of the shoe, it still provides a lot of support in that area. I don't really know how to describe it. It kind of feels like a kitchen sponge in a way. It's really weird to say, but it's a genuinely very comfortable experience that reminds me a lot of a kitchen sponge. Man, this is crazy. All right, so I'm gonna wear this shoe for the rest of the day and probably some of tomorrow as well, and then get back to you guys and let you know how it is after wearing it for a couple hours and whether it's a good all-day shoe. So it's been a couple days. I've been rocking this shoe every day and I absolutely love it, but I did notice something kind of interesting. I realized this shoe looks very familiar, and not only that, it feels very familiar. And I was just trying to figure out why that was, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and then it hit me. I've actually done a sponsored video for a pair of 3D printed insoles that are almost exactly the same. So these insoles are made by a company called Luxe Creo, which has an app that you scan your foot with, and then they 3D print you custom insoles, which feel awesome. And then I happened to look at the inside of the box again, and I noticed that these slides are powered by Luxe Creo, the exact same company, and it all started making sense. These two things feel very, very similar. Now, the insoles are definitely softer. I wear these in my New Balance 990 V5s all the time, but it seems like the material is a little bit thinner and a little bit more squishy, if you will, and it definitely has more give underfoot, but the slides have a very similar feel. Now, they're not as soft underfoot, which makes sense because this needs a bit more structure than a set of insoles, but they do have a very similar feel and obviously a very similar look. And I know this looks dumb, but I found out that I can actually solve my sizing problem by sliding in my Luxe Creo insoles into my Luxe Creo Asics slides. It actually fits significantly better. Yes, it does look kind of dumb, but at the same time, it's also more comfortable. So I might even just rock them like this, which I know is stupid, but I mean, hey, it's a 3D printed midsole made by Luxe Creo in a 3D printed slide also made by Luxe Creo. So while it doesn't look like it fits perfectly, at the same time, it's kind of the same thing. And seriously, it fits so much better. I've actually been wearing this shoe like this for the last day and a half, which I know, again, looks very stupid, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's stupid comfortable. But getting into the actual functionality of the slides themselves, according to Asics, these shoes are designed to be recovery shoes. So you wear these after you've gone on long runs, and you need a lot of cushion underneath your foot. And hey, like I was saying, this shoe does offer a lot of cushion. It's incredibly soft underfoot, and because of the properties of the material and the design of this lattice pattern, this shoe actually does offer support when you need it and cushion when you need it. If you put a lot of pressure in one area, it does compress a lot, lot, but if you don't put a lot of pressure in one area, like you're not leaning back on your heel or leaning forward on the ball of your foot, it does offer some nice arch support and actually support all around your foot. And also, in a seemingly unintended consequence of this design, this shoe is incredibly breathable. Not just because it's a slide, because obviously slides tend to be very breathable because most of your foot is not covered, but because the areas that are covered are actually only covered by this mesh, which allows a lot of airflow through both the top of your foot and underneath your foot. It's awesome. I love the way this shoe feels underfoot. One thing I did notice that was kind of interesting is that it's actually squishier if you squeeze the sides of the shoe rather than squeezing the top down on the shoe, and that's probably because of the way that it was designed. It was designed to support weight this way and not so much this way, and the softness on the side of the shoe might actually be a good thing because it allows the shoe to compress and expand underneath your weight. Needless to say, it's an incredibly well-designed shoe. I absolutely love it. The only problem that I have with the feel and I guess the sizing of this shoe is the sizing. This shoe is way too big for me. Now, unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast. When you build a shoe that's designed to fit like 3 different sizes, it's gonna not fit everyone perfectly. In fact, I think this shoe might only fit like a size 10 or a size 10.5 perfectly. Again, I wish I could have grabbed a size 8.5, which is a medium. I'm a size 9, but this just does not fit a size 9, and a size 8.5 or 9 is at the top end of the spectrum for the mediums, so that probably would have fit a lot better. So I guess if you're grabbing a pair of these shoes, try and grab a shoe on the smaller size because it does fit large. If you're a size 10.5 or 11, this probably fits you great. Visually, I absolutely love the way this shoe looks. I think this lattice pattern is incredible. It really makes this shoe look like a future shoe, like a 3D printed shoe, and obviously Luxe Creo does a lot of that, so it makes sense that they were the ones who designed this shoe, or I guess 3D printed this shoe, because they are familiar with this 3D printing technique and material style. But even though the pattern of this shoe is crazy complex, the actual overall design of the silhouette is very simple. You've got a very simple and clean looking slide, which features this cool sort of ridge along the top of the foot strap, which I really like, and then of course the Asics logo right there on the lateral side. It's one of those shoes that just draws so much attention. When you walk outside in this shoe, you get questions. People ask you, what is that? And it's really cool to tell them it's a 3D printed slide. Like, that is so cool to say. And I know people are gonna ask, will you get stuff stuck in this shoe because of this pattern that's used not only on the sides of the shoe, but also on the traction of the shoe? And yes, absolutely you will. I walked in this shoe for about 2 days and I got a bunch of little rocks and like some foam caught in there, which I did pull out for this review, but it happens. Now, it's not a big deal. It doesn't ever get to your foot because even though it is kind of hollow all the way up to your foot, it can't make it all the way through this sort of mesh pattern to get to your foot, so that doesn't really matter. If you stand in something sticky, that could be a problem, or something stinky, that could also be a problem, but at the same time, it's the kind of shoe that you can literally just hose down and you'll be good to go. I will say that because the bottom of the shoe is flat and because it's a plasticky sort of material, it is a little bit slippery in wetter conditions, but this is not the kind of shoe that you really want to wear in wetter conditions because it's hollow, so keep that in mind. But those really, other than sizing, were the only problems that I had with this shoe. I think overall, they did an incredible job with this shoe. It feels awesome underfoot. Retail price is only $80 if you can grab this shoe for the retail price, which is not going to be easy, but $80 for this shoe is absolutely worth it in my opinion. And for me, the coolest part is just feeling like I'm walking into the future. I know that's an awful pun, but genuinely, I feel like I'm stepping into, I did it again. These are future shoes. These are literally shoes from the future and I'm wearing them right now. It's insane.